I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
David Wells has pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality for David Wells.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Bates against Joseph. Bates in on goal. Shooting. Metho! Defend Metho! And the Rangers have one more hell of a time, baby!
This is the Cross Island Sports Network, where iconic moments get iconic coverage.
You are listening to
the Cross Island Podcast. Action! Hosted by Lyle and Errol Marks.
Welcome to a new show of the Cross Island Podcast. My name is Errol Marks, and my co-host, Lyle Gillian. Lyle, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. Been a few weeks since we've had an episode. Looking forward to doing one here tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy. Everybody's lives and life is just all over the place. We have a presidential election. We have the Olympics. We have the MLB season, and football is right around the corner. It's unbelievable that football is right here. I remember when the season ended and Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, and everybody's talking about now a three-peat. Could the Chiefs be the first three-peated team in NFL history? So a lot to get into, especially with the New York Jets. And there's a lot to get into with obviously what's going on in OTAs, and now the preseason's right around the corner. The Jets are, up, I think this coming week, right? I think the Jets have their first preseason game.
I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's this coming week, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Thursday, but it's going to be great. Tonight we're going to get into obviously the MLB trade deadline. Has HAASAN REDDICK attended the Jets camp, and is he going to attend the Jets camp moving forward? The New York Giants, their camp, what they're doing, Hard Knocks we will get into, and should the New York Knicks extend Julius Randle? So a lot to get into with that. I do not believe the Knicks will extend Julius Randle because they have to give Mikal Bridges an extension, and that's their number one priority, is making sure that Mikal Bridges is very happy. But let's get into it. I'm sorry?
I thought they did that already.
What are you talking about?
I thought they already extended him.
I don't think they did. No. The New York Knicks have not extended Mikal Bridges. No. So let's get into it. The MLB season, obviously the second half of the season, and the trade deadline. It's not the second half until the trade deadline. And the Yankees made a significant move at the trade deadline. And it wasn't something that everybody was sitting there and saying, wow, this was a great move. This is going to change everybody's fortunes, the New York Yankees' fortune. But bringing in Jazz Chisholm has been so fortunate. And I'll say this about Brian Cashman. You say whatever you want about him. You don't like him. You love him as a Yankee fan. But this guy, every trade deadline, brings an important piece to help the Yankees. And Jazz Chisholm is one of the hottest hitters right now in baseball. The first week with the New York Yankees, I think he has 4 home runs. He's got over 10 RBIs. He's been hot. And remember, he's coming from the Marlins, a bigger stadium, harder to hit home runs. Now he's in Yankee Stadium. It's more of a pull hitting ballpark. And Jazz Chisholm is a pull ball hitter. So it's fun. It's a great opportunity to see what this lineup could be when they're hitting on all cylinders. DJ LeMahieu is getting hot. The Yankees decided to sit Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres coming out last week after the press came to him and asked him, is he going to move to third base? Would he move to third base? He says, nope, I am a second baseman. I will stay the second baseman of the New York Yankees. Well, the Yankees didn't really like that. And Jazz Chisholm has been starting at third base really since he's come to the Yankees. And then Gleyber Torres is just not hitting. He just couldn't find a way to get hot. And the Yankees decided at the end of last week to sit him. And they've been sitting him. And I do believe he'll get his chance again in this lineup. If the Yankees can't hit, they'll maneuver players in this rotation because they want to keep everybody fresh. But the Yankees, the Jazz Chisholm move, and also bringing in Mark Leiter. Al Leiter's nephew. 32-year-old, 33-year-old pitcher, relief pitcher, who's been pitching very, very well all season long in the bullpen. The Yankees needed to add an arm. They added an arm there, and I think it'll be a significant one moving forward. The Yankees have been fighting injury in the bullpen all season long. This has been a big problem for, obviously Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone cannot keep this bullpen healthy. It's been a big problem for the last 3 years for the Yankees. So adding Mark Leiter was a big benefit to the New York Yankees. And again, the Yankees need to solidify that bullpen. A bullpen all season long, especially in the first half, the first 40 games was the best bullpen in baseball. But over the last couple of weeks, really before the All-Star break, it hasn't pitched well. So I think that adding somebody like Mark Leiter, it definitely gave them a significant piece to that bullpen. Your thoughts to that?
I don't see Gleyber Torres getting a chance again in here for a while. You look at what he's done throughout the season, and you compare it to Jazz Chisholm, and in 25 more ABs so far this year, he has more home runs, more RBIs, higher average, higher on-base percentage, higher OPS, which OPS is the new big thing that everyone looks for, more so than batting average. And his OPS is almost hit. Chaz's is 754, and Gleyber Torres is 688. Yeah, 668.
Yes.
And that's a big difference. And you look at what I don't see any benefit to even giving Gleyber. If they have to put Gleyber Torres in right now, I think if there's someone's hurt, they're putting him in, and that's a last resort option. He just hasn't been good. I don't see him if he stays. I don't think he's going to be getting a good contract. I don't see him staying with the Yankees next year. I don't. It's completely come crashing down. You look at where he was when he first started with the New York Yankees, when he was hitting 25, 30 home runs a year, batting just under 300. After the 2020 season, it's just hasn't been the same for him.
And also with the Yankees needed to add another bat. The lineup was not hitting. Obviously, Soto has been up and down when it comes to little injuries, not big injuries, but little injuries, and the Yankees needed that punch in that lineup. And Jazz Chisholm has added that punch in that lineup. There's no question that he has. And the Yankees are fortunate because Brian Cashman, he's always hunting. He's always hunting for players at the trade deadline. The Yankees even added another arm in Del Santos from the Padres, another good arm. And the Yankees again need to add punch to that rotation, and obviously a lot of people were questioning the Yankees because some people thought they should have brought in a starter. They decided not to do that.
That would have been a very smart choice for them. I think they.
But here's the thing: they have Clark Schmidt, but they have Clark Schmidt coming back, and Clark Schmidt is another arm that is coming back who was pitching well for the Yankees before he hurt himself in the beginning of the season. He was one of the better pitchers for the Yankees. So it's like adding a pitcher in at the trade deadline, a guy that's been sitting, but dealing with injuries, and now coming back. The Yankees now. Marcus Stroman has not pitched well in the second half, but he didn't pitch well in the second half with the Cubs last year.
Here's the thing with Clark Schmidt: he's not somebody who's a reliable arm. There's no way of knowing that he's going to come back and be producing in the same way he was when he got hurt. They needed somebody who was reliable, that they knew would come in and be able to give 6-7 innings of consistency, and that's really what they needed. And I feel like that's something that they really should have added at the deadline. Somebody who's an innings eater, and I think that could hurt them in the playoffs and making a deep run.
There's still the waivers, and there are going to be people waived. There are teams that are going to waive pitchers, so the Yankees could bring in a veteran. I expect the Yankees still to bring in a veteran to put in the bullpen, or a long man in the playoffs when they need a long man, if need be, if one of these guys in the rotation can't pitch. But Carlos Rodon has pitched well in his last 3 starts. He's looked really good. I think Garrett Cole is figuring things out as well. When you have a 1-2 punch like that, if you have Garrett Cole at 100% and you have Carlos Rodon playing at 100%, the Yankees are not going to need, a fourth or fifth starter. Then you're looking at either Nestor Cortez. Is he going to be your third starter? Are you going to decide Clark Schmidt's your third starter or one of these other guys, Marcus Stroman as your third starter going into the playoffs? A guy that has, obviously playoff experience, not a lot of it. But again, the Yankees, I don't think it's going to be because of pitching if the Yankees are going to win the World Series. They need a healthy bullpen. The bullpen needs to get healthy. They lost Jonathan Loáisiga for the whole season. I think their closer has not played very well. And he never played. He hasn't played well for the last 2 years in the second half of the season. So the Yankees are going to have to decide who is going to be their closer. So, but I think Heel is a guy that I think you put in the bullpen at the end of the season. I think he's pitched too many innings as a starter. You put Heel as your 8th inning guy, your 7th inning guy, or maybe your long guy, or you can make him your closer. He's got good enough stuff that you can move him in the closing position if need be. You need a guy that has good stuff as your closer. Maybe you put him, Heel, as your closer because I think he's going to have a pitch count. I think the Yankees realize that he's a young pitcher who is 27 years old. This is his rookie season. He's 27 years old, and he did pitch well, but teams are starting to figure him out. And after the third time around, hitters are starting to figure him out. So I think that what the Yankees need to do is I think they need to move him into the bullpen like they did with Nestor Cortez. And let him be either your 8th inning guy or your 9th inning guy moving forward into the playoffs. So I think obviously Del Los Santos is a guy that is going to give you long innings in your bullpen if you need it. And also adding Mark Leiter, who obviously his uncle was a Yankee, he played for the Mets. The Yankees know him very, very well, and he's pitched very well since he's come here. He's been on the mound 2 or 3 times already. He's pitched shutout innings for the New York Yankees. So I think the Yankees need to, if there are guys that they like on the waivers, on the waiver line when these guys become available, I think they need to add more bullpen help. Now, again, when you go into the wild card game, if the Yankees are playing in the wild card game or they're going to get a bye, they could get the bye if they win the division. They have the best record in the American League. But I don't know if the Yankees are going to be that way. That's going to happen. The way Cleveland is playing right now, they're the best team in the American League. And they have played outstanding. I mean, they're the hottest team in baseball. They're the hottest team in baseball right now. Their relief pitching is they have the best relief. They have the best bullpen in baseball. They're hitting. And the middle of their lineup is added not only power, but they're hitting for average. So I think Cleveland right now could be the best team in baseball.
I also want to say, I don't think they're one of the top 3 teams in baseball, but the Mariners have been a surprise to me this season.
Not to me. I thought they were a playoff team.
I thought they might squeak into a wild card team, but I did not think that they would be above the Astros and the Rangers in their division. I did not think that. I thought that they maybe could fight for the third wild card, maybe get second, but being right there with 60 wins and leading their division, that's a shock. That's something I'm a little surprised about. Because the last couple of years they've traded some of their stars in the offseason, and they've given up guys, and people have questioned what they were doing, and now they're still able to do it. You look at what they're doing, and it's impressive.
No question, it's been impressive, and they didn't make they added a bat to their lineup. They needed offense, so there's no question that they did do that. But they also could have used some bullpen help. But Seattle's gotten hot, and I will say this about the Houston Astros: they're not as good as they have been over the last couple of years. They're a shell of themselves. So I don't think this is a year for the Houston Astros. I think they make the playoffs. I think they could be a wild card team. They could even win the division, but that division is very weak. The Texas Rangers, who I thought were the best team in that division, the team that won the World Series last year, they're not the same team. Their rotation isn't the same that it was last year. They lost some pitches in free agency in the offseason, and they're just not the same team. And You would think that Jacob deGrom should be back, but Jacob deGrom has not come back. Max Scherzer is an old man. I mean,
he's my favorite player in baseball history forever, and he always will be. I've mentioned it before. I'm a Nationals fan. I love Max Scherzer so much, and it does hurt to see him struggling. But it happens to everybody. I think he's the greatest of our current generation. Of
him or Justin Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander. Yeah, one of those two. And he's a no doubt surefire Hall of Famer. But it happens to everybody. That comes a time when they have to hang it up, and it looks like it's about time for him. And it's sad to see.
Well, I'm not a Max Scherzer fan. I'm not a National fan. I know what he thinks about the Yankees and the organization, hence the reason why he never became a Yankee, because the Yankees, for quite a few times, were very interested in Max Scherzer, and he had no interest in coming to New York. Well, at least not for the Yankees. He was interested in the Mets. The Mets
I don't
would pay
think
him.
he was. I don't think he was. I think he wanted to go back to the Dodgers, but him being a union rep, the Mets offering the most money put him in a position where he had to take it. I still think, and I stand by it, that if the Dodgers gave him more money, he would have went there in a heartbeat. He was in a position where he was forced to take the Mets deal.
Well, the Mets were offering him the most money, and
they were
with Max Scherzer. Knowing that it was the tail end of his career, he wanted to move. He wanted to move on, and he wanted to make the most possible money. Remember, Max Scherzer, I think, has like 4 or 5 kids now. I mean, him and his wife moved over here to New York. I'm sorry?
They keep popping him out.
Yeah. Max Scherzer moved out here, bought a house, and now he moved to Texas, and now he bought a house, I think, not far from Jacob deGrom. So I think that obviously Max Scherzer wanted to make the money, and you can't attack anybody to try to make the money for his family. These guys are once in a generation type of players, and Max Scherzer, obviously at the tail end of his career, wanted to make sure that his family's family was taken care of. So I mean, obviously he's a shell of himself, but the Mets made some pretty good moves too, man. I really was impressed with what the Mets did, and adding the arms that they did in the bullpen. I mean, I was very impressed with what Stearns did. David Stearns. A lot of people attack David Stearns on some of the things that he didn't do in the offseason. But
I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted. I think he's done a good job also, but at the same time, he's missed the boat in other areas, and he deserves credit for what he's done well, and he deserves criticism for what he's done bad. Like every GM, you're not going to ignore what he did bad because he did other things good. You're going to call him out for what he did bad and say what he did good is still good. And I think I don't think he did a great job last offseason, improving the roster where it should have been. But I think they have guys that are stepping up and improving that they already had in place, like Lindor. He's been much, much better this year. I think that's really where the guys are stepping up and and producing like how they should have been. And I think that, the Mets added Jesse Winker over on the deadline. I just mentioned it. I'm a Nationals fan. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's a great player. He might have been overproducing for the Nationals, but now he's going to be a bench guy who comes in and pinch hits for the Mets. Maybe he gets a spot start here and there. But he's had I just had a stat here. 14 at-bats, 3 hits, and his OPS is 481, and on base batting average is 214. He's not a great player. He's not good. He still has I believe he still has another year of control left under arbitration. So that's if he should play more motivated. If the Mets don't want to give him arbitration, they could not qualify him and let him go.
I thought the Paul Blackburn move was fantastic. Yeah, well, it could be a movie if he actually pitches well here. But I really like that move. The Oakland Athletics were trying to get rid of him in the middle of this, before the trade deadline. They couldn't move him, and the Mets, I think, snagged him up. I think he's really a third guy in your rotation in the future. If you decide to go after Burns in the offseason and you bring in Burns from Baltimore and you have Senga, you got Burns as your 1, Senga as your 2, and Blackburn as your 3. That's a pretty good rotation. I like what Blackburn.
He's more of a 4.
I think he's a 3.
If you're a 3, you're stuck. Honestly, I think he's a 4, maybe even a 5. I think on a team that wants to compete for a World Series, which, when you have an owner with that much money and you have David Stearns running the team, that's what your goal is. I don't think you should be having a guy who has a 4.5 ERA consistently, and you're in your third slot. So that means that they're going to be pitching an important game in the NLCS or the NLCS.
But usually, Lyle, if you look at anybody's third guy in their rotation, they usually have close to their ERA is either like a late 3, early 4, and that's when he.
But he's a 4.41.
Yeah, he's an early. That's not bad for a third guy in your rotation.
I think that's very high ERA. I wouldn't want a third 4. I think okay, sure. But I would prefer him to be a guy that is a 5 who can then come in, and when he gets to the playoffs, he's going to be a guy who can come in from the pen. Guy that goes from the starter to the pen. I think he's better there. Maybe you start him off as a 4, and then you make him a 5 at the deadline. I think that's okay. But I don't know. Top 3, I wouldn't be confident with that.
I think he's the third guy in a rotation. I think he absolutely fits in the rotation for the New York Mets. He comes from the American League. He comes from a really crappy team, Oakland Athletics. And usually a lot of these Oakland pitchers, when they leave Oakland, are not good pitchers. But I like Paul Blackburn. He's a guy that I wanted the Yankees to look at. He's a guy that I would have brought in as a starter.
I don't think he's bad by any means, but
he's got good stuff, man. He's got good stuff.
He does, but let's look at it this way, okay? Leaving Oakland, he had a 4.41 ERA.
Yeah, but that was only because of his last 3 starts. Before that, his ERA was in the 2s.
Before that, the year before, he had 4.43. Year before that, 4.28, and the year before that, 5.87, and then before that, he wasn't really starting much. I'm not even going to count those years, but I'll count those.
He's gotten better every year. It shows you he's getting better every year.
5.87, then he went to 4.28, and then he went up to 4.43. So
it's not going to stay at 4.43. His ERA is going to go down.
Right now, it's 4.11 after the Mets start when he only let up 1 run in 6 innings.
Yes.
But I don't that's not something if you let up 3 runs in 6. That's fine. That's okay.
That's a guy that you could put in your third guy in your rotation, and I think that's the kind of guy that the Mets are gonna. If they're gonna go after Burns in the offseason, which everybody believes they will, because David Stearns is the one that drafted the kid. So I expect the Mets to go heavily after him, and I think the Mets are going to go heavily after Soto, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sign Pete Alonso as well in the offseason. You're talking about $1 billion that he is going to spend in the offseason. He didn't spend any money last year. I expect him to spend a ton. I wouldn't even be surprised, because Soto is a very close friend of Gleyber Torres, to bring Gleyber Torres in for $80 or $90 million. I could see the Mets
right now. There's two teams that I think have a legit shot at signing
Juan Soto.
And I've mentioned it before. It's San Francisco.
He's not going there. He already said he doesn't want to go out west.
Money talks. If no one's offering him the contract that he wants, and they offer him the contract that he wants, money talks.
He already said he doesn't want to go out west.
And
he already said
I think Atlanta. He's very
Atlanta might, but Atlanta don't like to spend money. Atlanta doesn't like to spend money.
But here's the thing: they're going to be in a position where we don't know when Acuna could really come back next season. He's not going to start the whole year. He might not even. I think whenever he does come back, he might start off as a DH. That might be what he's doing in the rest of his career, is a DH. You get a guy like Juan Soto, because, Acuna is on a good contract. And you have the Phillies already there. They've passed them right now. They're the better team. I think that Atlanta first off, Acuna almost came to the Nationals from international signing because him and Juan Soto are such good friends. At the last minute, he changed his mind, went to Atlanta. I would not be shocked at all if that's where he went. I think, and everybody is not including him in this. They lost Freddie Freeman. They replaced him with Olsen, and they gave Olsen a good contract. But I think some guys are coming off the books this year for Atlanta, and they're going to have to do something in order to compete with the Phillies. And they know the Mets are going to be going and spending money. I think Atlanta is going to make a big splash and make a big move for Juan Soto.
I just don't think, I cannot see Ted Turner and that organization, their GM, actually spending the money and giving Juan Soto a $650, $700 million contract. I can see the Mets doing that. I could see the Mets doing that. And the Yankees are going to make a run at it, but I just think that the Yankees are going to say, you know what, it's too much blood, it's too much money that we're going to throw into him. And they got this kid Jones, who a lot of people think is the left-handed power of Aaron Judge. They think that he's the next
I just want to say, you said that he said he doesn't want to go out west. Juan Soto recently said he would love to play with Ohtani. So he would definitely go out west.
Juan Soto's not playing with the Dodgers.
I'm just saying that him saying that he didn't want to go out west is not true.
Dude, everything that I've read, obviously Boris has said that he wants to stay out east. I've heard Philadelphia being a team that might make a run at him if they can, Castellano, if they can trade him.
When it comes to Boris, it comes to whoever offers the most money. And
well, they're trying to move Castellanos a contract. If they can move Castellanos contract, I could see Juan Soto absolutely signing with Philadelphia. I could see it because
I could picture that.
Bryce Harper and Trey Turner.
I probably hang myself seeing Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, and Juan Soto on the Philadelphia Phillies, but I don't want to see that.
I know you don't want to see it because you're a Nationals fan, but I could see it. I think he's heading to the National League East, either with the Philadelphia Phillies or the Mets. I know a lot of Yankee fans don't want to hear this, but I just think that the Yankees are in love with this kid Jones. A lot of experts that we've had on our show, the Sports Loudmouth, has told us that this kid is the real deal. Now, you don't know prospects. You got to take a chance, but they say he could play multiple positions. He's a 5-tool player. He's got tremendous power, can hit all over the field. And the Yankees believe that he's the future left fielder for the New York Yankees. So, and Aaron Judge, obviously, there for another 8 to 7 years. They're not going to be able to get rid of Giancarlo Stanton's contract, and he has another 3 years left on that contract. And Dominguez is their future center fielder if he can stay on the field. So the Yankees have a pretty young, bunch of players that they want to build around. Volpe, Dominguez, and Jones. Those are the guys that they want to build around, and they want to build their crop of players in their farm system. So I do not believe Juan Soto is unless the Yankees could get him for $600 million, $550 if he takes less.
They're not going to keep him unless they can get rid of Stanton. And Stanton is impossible to trade.
He has a no-trade clause, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Well, it's not because of the no-trade clause. No one's going to want him because he's not healthy. He has not been healthy. Maybe for 1 year he's been healthy for the Yankees. But, you're paying him all that money, and you're paying him all that money to sit on his ass somewhere? No one's going to want that contract.
In the beginning of the season, when Giancarlo Stanton was in the lineup, this lineup was untouchable. They were hitting the ball all over. When he's in the lineup, he's scary.
Now he's not. And you know what? We had this conversation at the beginning of the year. I told you he wasn't going to stay healthy. And they said, oh, yes, he is. And now he's not healthy.
Well, I didn't say he was going to stay healthy. I said that he's going to play at least 120 games. That's what I said. And right now, it doesn't look like he's on track to doing that. But if he plays 100 games out of 162 games, I think the Yankees got what they wanted out of him. If he hits 30 home runs in 100, I think the Yankees got what they needed out of him.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think him being on playing that many games is what they need. Because right now, let's face it, and if you're a Yankee fan and you're listening, you're not going to want to hear it, but Baltimore's the better team. And if he's not playing and you're in a division race, you need him to be playing. And he's not doing what he's paid to be there for. No one gets paid to not play. No one is going to be, you hit 30 home runs, but you know what? Out of the 62 games, we need you to play another 50. So then
I disagree.
We can beat Baltimore. And he's not there. Hello?
I'll tell you this. Baltimore is not a better team than the New York Yankees. I think Baltimore is not anywhere close when it comes to they have a lot of good young players. I don't. I think Baltimore has flaws. We saw it in the playoffs in the wild card game.
I don't think they will go as far in the playoffs, but I think it's just because they're very young. I don't think that's because they're not better, but I do believe the Baltimore Orioles are a better team.
I don't. I think the Yankees' middle of the lineup is as good as any lineup in baseball. Jazz Chisholm now. He gives you that punch that they needed. A lot of people didn't know who Jazz Chisholm was because, how many people watch the Marlins play? But the guy is...
even in Miami, nobody watches him play.
I know. And that's why nobody knew who he was. But the Yankees and Baltimore are tied right now for the American League East. I think the Yankees are the better team. I think Jazz Chisholm changed that for them. They needed to clean up that lineup, and DJ LeMahieu's starting to hit. So, and again, I think the Mets can make the playoffs. I've been very impressed with the Mets. I mean, they've been up and down over the last couple of weeks, but the Mets are only 2 games behind Atlanta. The Mets can make the playoffs. The Yankees are going to make the playoffs. So I think this could be a fun October, November for baseball here in New York. So
I agree. But I do think that the Orioles are going to hold off the Yankees.
I don't. I think the Yankees win the division. I've been predicting that from the beginning of the season. I think the Yankees are the better team in the division. So
we'll find out.
We'll absolutely find out. It's going to be fun. This is the best time. This is the best time of year because now you're going to see obviously the Yankees be fighting with Baltimore and Cleveland and where the cards fall, because whoever wins this division, I think Cleveland will hit a wall. Cleveland is not going to play as hot as they have. They're going to hit a wall. They're going to go on a skid, just like the Yankees did, just like Baltimore did. They're going to go on a skid, and the Yankees and Baltimore are going to be fighting for that best record in the American League. And whoever wins this division, I believe, is going to get that bye from the wild card game. So I think that the Yankees are going to prevail. I think the Yankees are the best team in baseball right now. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying because I'm a Yankee fan. As good as Philadelphia has been all season long, and they looked really, really good, and probably I don't even remember the last time Philadelphia has lost 5 games in a row. So they have been fantastic, and they've been as good as any team I've seen. And hottest team, one of the hottest teams I've seen in really since the Moneyball time. I think they've been as good, and they're going to win 100. And I could see Philadelphia winning 110 games this year, 106 games this year. Between those things, they've been unbelievable.
I think the World Series is going to come down to Dodgers or Philly. I think it's going to be one of them again. I think those are the two best teams in baseball. I think they're the 2 best teams that are built for a run. I don't think the AL is going to win. I don't. It's just if I had to put money on it right now, I'm not thinking an AL team. I don't think any of them are.
I don't think
any of them can beat the Phillies or Dodgers in a 7-game series.
I disagree. I think Baltimore can. I think the Yankees can, and I think Cleveland can. Cleveland has the bullpen, and Cleveland has the best bullpen.
Cleveland, I think, is the best out of those 3 teams you mentioned. But I just don't think
they don't have the lineup to compete with those other teams. And
but
Cleveland
even if you look at it with the Yankees and the Orioles, I don't think their lineup can compete with the Dodgers or the Phillies. Their pitching would have to really hold them down. And there's only so much that can really happen with that when your lineup can't compete with them. I would say the Yankees lineup can definitely compete with them, but I don't think their pitching can. And I think that the pitching of the Yankees would not do well against the hitting of the Dodgers and Phillies. I think if we get a rematch of 2019, or 2009, I think that the
Lyle, who was in the World Series last year? Lyle, who was in the World Series last year?
Last year it was Phillies and Rangers. No, it was Arizona and the Rangers.
Arizona and the Rangers. Did anybody think Arizona and the Rangers would go into the World Series? I was the only one that predicted that the Texas Rangers was going to win the World Series before the playoffs.
No, I would say a good amount of people, especially after the trade deadline, thought that the Texas Rangers could get to the World Series 100%.
Actually, nobody did. I don't know. I don't know what you were talking about because
I
remember they were one of the, in the second, especially they made some moves at the trade deadline, but before the trade deadline they were playing like crap. They were not good. They snuck into the playoffs. They really snuck into the playoffs, got hot, beat Baltimore, and ran through. They probably had the best run I've ever seen a major league team ever have. The teams that they had to beat, the teams that they had to go through to win the World Series was absolutely amazing. And Arizona too. Those two teams were not supposed to be there. Okay, they weren't.
Arizona, right, I would agree with, but I don't agree with the Rangers. I think a lot of people before
everybody had Baltimore going to the World Series last year.
Before the season, a lot of people picked the Texas Rangers to get there after the offseason that they had.
Texas? No way.
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, they had a big offseason going into last year.
What was their big offseason?
They signed DeGrom and Corey Seager.
Bruce Bochy? That's it.
They signed Corey Seager and DeGrom.
Corey Seager was there. Corey Seager was there.
Last year, they signed both of them.
Corey Seager was there. Corey Seager was there. Corey Seager, this is Corey Seager's third year. He was there. Jacob DeGrom was hurt.
But when they signed him,
DeGrom was hurt.
When they signed him, that he wasn't hurt.
Nobody thought the Rangers were going to the World Series.
They went into that season thinking that a lot of people were picking them to be a team that could win the World Series.
I've never heard that. Nobody thought the Rangers were going to the World Series. That year was Baltimore and the Yankees. Everybody thought that the Yankees, they were the lineup that they had and the way they were playing. Garrett Cole was pitching phenomenal. They thought that they were going to come out of the American League, and they thought, or Houston. It was Houston, the Yankees, or Baltimore, and in the National League, it was the Dodgers, it was Philadelphia, and it was the Braves. The Braves were the best team in baseball. The Braves had the best record in baseball going into the playoffs.
I remember seeing a lot of people picking them before last season started to be a team that could
going into the playoffs. I had Philadelphia versus the Rangers in the World Series.
The playoffs is different. I'm saying before last season started, a lot of people.
Nobody thought the Rangers were going to be there. Now, I don't know who you were listening to, but nobody thought that the Rangers were going to the World Series. Nobody. Just telling you, I've never heard that.
That's not true.
I never heard that. Never.
Well, yeah, guess what?
Everybody thought it was a growing year for Bruce Bochy. It was going to be this year, or the second or third year, when the Rangers are going to make that run, because Bruce Bochy was coming, and it was going to take him a couple of years to bring up some of the young players, some of the young studs they have in their farm system. Nobody thought they were going to go on a run the way they did. Nobody. And then it brought Max Scherzer at the trade deadline. What a friggin' joke.
They also brought in Eovaldi to start last season.
What a joke. Yeah, Nathan Eovaldi was a big pickup at the trade deadline, bringing in what's his name again from the ex-Yankee. It was
he had a great year last year, and this year too. He's having a good year this year too for Texas. Eovaldi.
Eovaldi's a good pitcher. Eovaldi just has had problems with Tommy Johns. He's always been a good pitcher. Even with the Red Sox, he won a World Series where he was a big part of that rotation when they won the World Series. He was probably their best pitcher. So, Nathan Eovaldi.
2018?
Yes. He won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox, and he was a big factor on why they won that World Series, because he got hot. Yeah, but last World
Series with Texas. That's where he won a second.
Yes. that year with the Red Sox, he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. But he's a good playoff pitcher.
You look at what he's doing left. I think that's impressive. Having a sub-4 ERA in Texas, where it's known to be very hitter friendly, I think that's impressive. I think that's very good. You look at what he's doing there. That's impressive to me. That's always been known in Arlington to be a place where pitchers don't produce.
No, Nathan Eovaldi's a great pitcher, man. He throws hard.
He's been doing great there, but I'm saying in general, it's always been known that in Texas, pitchers don't play well there.
And it's a affordable contract. Go look at Nathan Eovaldi's contract. It's not a bad. It's a good contract. Nathan Eovaldi, obviously, the Texas Rangers, stole him because the Red Sox should have re-signed him. I thought the Yankees should have brought him back. The Yankees made and he pitches well against the Yankees. He kills the Yankees, Nathan Eovaldi. So I have no idea when he became a free agent this offseason. I have no idea why the Yankees and Brian Cashman didn't decide to bring in Nathan Eovaldi, but that's just my opinion. I want to get into the HAASAN REDDICK situation. The New York Jets. I've heard rumors that Aaron Rodgers has looked really, really, really good. Obviously,
he didn't have a good practice today.
I'm sorry?
He didn't have a good practice today.
No, but I've heard he's looked really good. Him and Garrett Wilson have been fighting back and forth. So I expect them to, obviously mosh well when they start to figure things out. But, Garrett Wilson took shots at him. I mean, I heard Robert Saleh stick up for Aaron Rodgers saying that, Garrett Wilson's a phenomenal player, but he needs to listen. He needs to be more understanding. But, of course, Robert Saleh's kissing Aaron Rodgers' ass because that's what he's going to do. Because Robert Saleh's job is in limbo. If Robert Saleh doesn't start the season off strong, and listen, the Jets have their first 3 games are in like 13, 14 days. The Jets, they're playing Monday Night Football. They're playing Sunday Night Football. Then they play Thursday. I know. They play Monday night, Sunday night, then Thursday night football. I mean, they could go.
If I'm the New York Jets, okay, now most of your fan base is from Long Island. That's a fact. Most Jet fans are from Long Island.
That New Jersey too.
Well, obviously New Jersey, but most of them are from Long Island over New Jersey. Mm-hmm. If you really think about their schedule, it's not made for a Jet fan coming from New Jersey. I mean, Long Island. It's made for people that live in New Jersey. Now, this is a problem to me because, if their schedule was more standard, you have your Sunday 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock game, maybe a Sunday night football game here or there, 1 or 2. I think 5 of their games are primetime during the week or Sunday night football. That's horrible. Their first 3 games are prime time. If I bought season tickets, I would be able to probably go to 2 games this whole year. I think that their schedule is absolutely horrendous for the fans that are coming from Long Island. And I think that's a problem because that majority of their fans do come from Long Island. And you're going to ask them to go to these games and then have to take the New Jersey Transit back, where New Jersey Transit has a reputation of being unreliable after those late games. Well,
here's the problem. Problem. I think the Jets' first 2 games are away. So their first game, if I'm not mistaken, their first game is in San Francisco. I think their second game is away too. Let me see. New York Jets schedule.
So their first game is September 9th against in San Francisco. Yes. Then it's September 15th against the Titans. And then it's at home against the Patriots. On the 19th.
So their first game is their third game.
The 19th is Monday Night Football, right?
Yes.
Like, I hate this. As a Jet fan, I hate that there's so many primetime games. I understand that's what happens when your team is hyped. That's what happens when you have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. But it is so unfriendly to the fans because of where the team plays and how the fans have to get there. The New York Jets should have worked more with the league to make it a schedule that is easier for the fans to get there. Having all these primetime games in midweek is honestly a slap in the face to all the fans from Long Island that have to go there.
It's just all about Aaron Rodgers. That's what. Why do you think the Jets have so many primetime games this year? Because Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's what's going to happen. That's what comes with being one of these best teams. But when you're a team like the Jets, who your team is a 2.5 hour train ride away, or when they have to drive 2.5 hours to get there, and then even back, like, I think that the New York Jets should be a team that tries to work with them to have more Sunday 1 o'clock games. They should have maybe two primetime games. I would have bought season tickets. I was thinking about it. I was talking to a rep, and then the schedule dropped, and I was so glad I said no, because there were probably 2 games I could have gone to. Why would I pay all that money to go to 2 games when it just doesn't make sense? It's not financially friendly to Jet fans that live on Long Island. Most people on Long Island have to work early the next morning. People on Long Island don't want to have to drive all the way out there to fucking Jersey and then have to drive back, or take the train and have to rush to the New Jersey Transit, wait outside in the middle of the winter, and then take the train all the way back in December. It's not friendly to a Jet fan. If it's a 1 o'clock Sunday game, people have time to leave and go to the train, take the shuttle back. It's more fan-friendly for that. But having these primetime games and how many they have, I think is very disrespectful to the fans.
Again, I do believe that obviously the NFL wants to put out Aaron Rodgers as much as they can. They want to sell him. He's the face of, right now, him and Patrick Mahomes. Who wouldn't want to see the Jets and Kansas City face off in the AFC Championship? Everybody would like to see it. Kansas City obviously going for their 3rd in a row, and the New York Jets, who have been obviously craving for a Super Bowl, run. So, and right now, this is the best Jets team we've ever seen. Honestly, this is probably the most talented Jets team we've ever seen.
I'm going to say it now, and knock on wood. If the Jets stay healthy, I think they win the division.
I think the Jets win the division no matter what, as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy.
Yes, as long as the team is healthy and the core talent of the team does not get a horrendous injury, I think they stay healthy. I think they win division. And I think I
predicted the Jets to win 12 to 13 games this year. I might be looking a little high, but I think between 11, 12, or 13. It depends on how they got to beat San Francisco. And I think Aaron Rodgers don't play well in San Francisco. Something tells me the Jets are going to win this game on primetime. Something tells me they're going to beat him in San Francisco. And Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry?
Me personally, I'm scared about that game, but not because of the win-loss. Because the San Francisco 49ers have such a good pass rush. I don't trust our offensive line yet. It's going to take me a few games to trust them.
Well, again, they brought in Smith, and everybody's worried. I know you just said Smith is hurt already. He's not hurt. The Jets are sitting him out. They want to make sure that he's 100% healthy.
I didn't say he was hurt. I said he already missed a couple practices.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the Jets are going to be very lenient and very protective over him because they want him to be ready for the season. And he's an older guy. He's 33 years old, 32 years old. You
don't want to baby him too much. If they baby him too much, he might not be game ready.
They want to give Olu a chance to play too, man, because you just drafted a top first-round draft pick. You're one of the better offensive linemen. I'm going to tell you this right now. Olu is going to be a special player. Guy gave up no sacks in his career in Penn State. He got a chance to play against Michigan. He played against some of these great defenses. And he shut these defenses down. So Olu is going to be really, really good. I think he's a great standout, a great person to build around, a great point man to build around your offensive line. Him, if Elijah Vera Tucker could stay healthy, and obviously Tippmann. I think you have 3 young guys that could be all pro ball players. So I think the Jets are really put themselves in a really good position. Now, Morgan Moses needs to stay healthy. Obviously, Smith needs to stay healthy. They need to be healthy to protect Aaron Rodgers. If they do that, I think this team has structured the way it is. I'm worried about Robert Saleh. I'm worried about Nathaniel Hackett. I'm worried about the coaching. I'm not worried about the talent of this team. If HAASAN Reddick plays or he doesn't play.
I only worry about the coaching if Aaron Rodgers is not playing. Because if Aaron Rodgers is playing, that's way less thinking they have to do on offense for the coaching staff. Like we know this already. The the offensive system that the coaches built was built for Aaron Rodgers. And if he's healthy, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about
Lyle. If it doesn't bother you right now that the Jets have come out and said that Nathaniel Hackett is not going to be making all the play calls. There's going to be like 3 or 4 guys making the play calls. Your wide receiving coach. Nathaniel Hackett's not even going to make the play calls. Robert Saleh is going to intervene with some of the play calls.
Do you think they're going to be calling it, or do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to have the final say?
I have no idea. Dude, that's alarming to me.
It's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
That would be alarming. That should alarm you as a Jet fan when you're hearing that.
Because Aaron Rodgers is going to be the one making the fucking calls.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
He runs the entire team. I don't think for a second that
doesn't worry you. That doesn't worry you that your quarterback's running the team.
That worries me for completely different reasons, not because of what's going to be done out there. I think I have no problems with Nathaniel Hackett only if Aaron Rodgers is playing. Once he goes down, that's when I start to worry about them.
Okay, and then you bring in Tyrod Taylor. Now, Tyrod Taylor played for the Giants. I think he's a great back. I think Tyrod Taylor is the best backup right now. I think he's the best backup in the league.
He's a Virginia Tech quarterback. I love him.
And the Jets decided to pay him almost $8 or $9 million a year. He signed a 2-year deal to back up Aaron Rodgers because the Jets don't trust that Aaron Rodgers is going to stay 100% healthy. That's alarming. And here's another thing. Tyrod Taylor last year playing for the Giants, he didn't stay healthy either because he's a mobile quarterback. So there's a lot of alarming things. And I like the kid that they brought from Florida State. I like him. I think Travis is going to be a really good quarterback. If he sits behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 years, I think the Jets have something for him. He would have been a first-round draft pick if he didn't break his leg last year. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. So I think the Jets got a steal with bringing in Jordan Travis. I'm worried that there are pieces to this puzzle that has not been answered. And HAASAN Reddick, the Jets gave up a 3rd round, possibly a 2nd round draft pick to bring this guy in. If he doesn't sign with them. Now, I do believe he's going to play this year no matter what. If the Jets decide to trade him, they need to get back what they lost, a 3rd round draft pick. And maybe even a 2nd round draft pick.
This HAASAN Reddick situation. The longer it takes to play it for this whole thing to be settled, the worse it looks for Joe Douglas, because at the end of the day, they easily could have just extended crap, I just lost his name. Extended the guy who went to the Eagles.
Okay.
They could have easily extended him, paid him less money, and he still would have gotten you 10 to 15 sacks a year.
They had no interest in re-signing HAASAN Reddick as much as everybody said. They were going to bring HAASAN Reddick. They wanted to make a run this year. They told HAASAN now before they negotiate, they told HAASAN they will re-sign him, but they're not giving him 26, 27 million. We would give you 18 to 20. HAASAN wanted 26 to 27 because he's at the tail end of his career. He's 31 years old. He wants that.
He's going to get it.
He's not getting it. He's not getting it.
I think he would. I think some team would overpay and give him money that out of desperation. It happens every year. Someone gives someone money out of desperation and overpays. It happens in every sport, in every free agency, every year. Someone overpays for somebody and gives them money that they were asking for that nobody else was willing to out of desperation. Does that not happen every year?
Only time will tell. I mean, obviously, HAASAN Reddick.
You're not afraid to tell people when they're wrong. So by you not saying anything, I'm going to take it as you're saying I'm right.
No, I just think HAASAN Reddick he's a different guy, man. And I'm not paying him. I'm not paying a 31-year-old as good as he's been.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. But I'm just saying that somebody will. Somebody will give him that money out of desperation. Some GM that thinks that they're on the hot seat and thinks that that's a game changer will give him that money.
I think he goes back to the Lions next year. I think he comes back. He plays for the Jets this year, has a decent season. But remember, he's missing OTAs. He's missing practices. He's not going to be the same player. It's going to hurt the Jets because now Johnson looks really, really good. He put on 20 pounds of muscle. He looks fantastic. He's the guy. He's taking reps out of Johnson's hands because of the fact. And remember, they still have guys that are coming back next year, this coming year that they couldn't get rid of because they're under contract. So
Also,
I just think
in practice, Will McDonald did a great play where he broke through the protection and went right after and would have had a sack on Aaron Rodgers in a normal game. But obviously he didn't because it's.
I like Will McDonald. I think Will McDonald's going to be. I think
player.
Will McDonald's going to show. So do I. I do too. I think he was a great choice for Joe Douglas. I liked Will McDonald. I did think they were reaching at 15 or 14, wherever they were drafting, but nevertheless, I think the Jets were targeting him. It wasn't crazy to think that why they were targeting. So,
well, even if you look at what he did last year in his limited game time, you could see that burst that he has, and that you could see it. He has a very good burst right off the line. He's fast for a defensive end. I like him. I think he's going to be a very good player.
Now to finish up the Julius Randle thing, I do not believe the Knicks are going to extend him. I do not. I think the Knicks are more, obviously invested into Mikal Bridges and making sure that these Nova kids are in it for the long haul. After giving Tom Thibodeau a 3-year extension, Tom is going to be there for 4 years. I think the whole Julius Randle thing is Randle has this year and he has a player option. I think he's going to take the player options because the player option is going to pay him about $40 million. I think Julius Randle's here for 2 more years. Even if he has a good season this year, I do not believe he's going to not take the player option. If he doesn't take the player option, I don't think anybody's going to give him 45, 50 million. So I don't think he's worth that. So Julius Randle, I do believe will be a Knick for at least 2 more years, and they're going to extend Mikal Bridges. So anybody that thinks that Julius Randle is going to get an extension, even if Julius Randle thinks he's going to get an extension, they're on drugs. He's not getting an extension from the New York Knicks.
He won't get an extension at what he wants. If he does, it's going to be a massive cut. But I think that would be realistic. And, you also look at it, think about it this way. Say that he comes back this season, like coming off of that big of an injury, and he's later in his career. He's not some young little tiny kid. It's going to affect him. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back.
It's going to be interesting. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's going to be very, very interesting, but he'll be fine. I think Julius Randle will be fine because you're not going to have to depend on him. After bringing in Mikal Bridges, he's going to be that second guy, and OG Anunoby will be that second or third guy. I don't think they're going to have any problems offense. Obviously, Brunson playing the way he played last year. So I'm not really worried about that. I think Julius Randle will take time. I expect him to be back early in the season. If he misses the preseason, he'll be back. So
the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years, the Knicks, he averaged over 20 points per game. Before that, he averaged 19 and a half. In 2021 and 22-23, he averaged a double-double. So I don't think he does have as good of a year. I think if he averages,
because he's got to share the ball. Mikal Bridges is going to touch the ball.
But I think that if he averages 15 to 18 points, I think that's a good year for him.
Oh, I think he's going to average 20. He's not going to average 24, 25. He'll average 20, and he'll average about 9 or 8. That's why I think Julius Randle is going to be this year. Mikal Bridges is going to average between 18 and 19.
I think
OG Anunoby, 15 to 17.
I think the beginning of the year is going to be he's going to have some he's going to start off very slow. He's going to have to come back from this injury. I think it's going to take him maybe a month or so to really get back to where he was, and I think that could lower his stats.
We will see. Good show, Lyle. It was a really, really good show. We got into a lot of baseball, so trade deadline. We got into obviously some football, talking about the Jets. We didn't talk about the Hard Knocks, but Hard Knocks is very interesting. The next week we'll talk about Joe Shane and my thoughts of Hard Knocks, because I already said it on the Sports Loudmouth. It wasn't about the Giants. It was Hard Knocks Joe Shane. It wasn't Hard Knocks New York Giants. It was all about Joe Shane. And Joe Shane looked like a complete idiot. That's just my opinion. But we'll talk about it next week. Anyways, thank you to the fans. Thank you to all the Cross Island fans listening to us. We really appreciate you guys. Lyle, keep up the good work. And obviously all the content that we put out there. Thank you again to everybody. And again, we'll be back next week. Again, this is the Cross Island podcast. This is Errol Marks and Lyle Gillian saying good night. We'll talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.